Good morning, everyone. Mike's MMAPicks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show for UFC 279. 13 fights. 6 fights currently favored to end inside the distance. We saw a number of high-profile fighters miss weight here. Got to wonder, were these fat camps or were they fight camps? Questions will be answered later this evening. 13 bouts. First fight of the night. Darian Weeks taking on Johan Lennes. Lennes minus 110 at the betting window. Darian Weeks, the very slight favorite here. You watch the tape. Lennes reminds me a lot of Matt Brown. Precise striker. Throws heat. Can crack. Someone who really commits to their strikes. Problem with this, though, is it comes at a cost. Lennes doesn't have the best gas tank, tends to run out of gas rather quickly. Also is susceptible to the body. When you watch, Matt Brown has run into some issues there in the past. And what this comes down to is Lennes, if he's going to win this fight, it's most likely going to happen inside the distance. If Weeks can withstand some early adversity, this is his fight to win. He has the better gas tank. If you watch his previous fights, he moves his head well. He gets in and gets out. He can pepper opponents with strikes. He has a grappling game. Lennes, when he's on his back, he may run into some issues here if this fight gets extended. I'm going to be picking Weeks here. I have to admit, when I initially watched the tape, my first inclination was to play the dog, Lennes, but as the lens became into focus, Weeks, in my eyes, is the rightful favorite here. Next fight, Elise Reed taking on Melissa Martinez. Melissa Martinez hasn't competed in quite some time, I believe since 2019. She is a striker, somebody who is rather small for even the 115-pound division. You watch back Elise Reed, her previous opponents have been diminutive in nature. She lost to Corey McKenna, somebody who I believe possesses a 58-inch reach. That is disturbing, to say the least. Melissa Martinez, Melly, is a striker who, you watch the fight against Yanez, her most recent bout, looked like she should have taken a loss there. Elise Reed, women's mixed martial arts, very, very low level here. I think that there is a little bit of value here on Elise Reed. I will not be playing this fight. I believe there's too much volatility in low women's mixed martial arts bouts. But give me the underdog, Elise Reed, here. Next up, where we have a bantamweight bout between Haley Alatang against Shad Helger. Helger, man, you watch the tape back. This is somebody who did not fare well in the beginning of their career. Somebody who appears undersized for the division. Somebody who is slick out there with his footwork and can crack, but leaves some major holes in his game. Alatang has the potential to wrestle here. We've seen him wrestle earlier in his career. The problem here for Alatang is we got to see him utilize footwork to close distance on Helger. And Helger is a Canadian fighter who isn't much to write home about. I watched back his fights previously, and Alatang can crack. The only problem is he tends to go back to the well with that overhand right. Alatang, I believe, is the rightful favorite here. He has a decent gas tank. And Helger, last time out, seemed to come on late, and he is a precise striker, but can wilt under pressure. And I think that is going to happen here against Alatang. I'll be picking Haley Alatang to win this bout. Looking for a little bit better line than minus 165. The wrestling is a clear path to victory for Alatang here, and he just has to put his game to work. I don't see Alatang succumbing to any submissions here. We've seen against Casey Kenny and others, he's one tough hombre. So give me Haley Alatang to win there. Norma Dumont taking on Danielle Wolf. This is a situation here where you have a one-dimensional fighter and Danielle Wolf taking on Norma Dumont, who is a versatile fighter, somebody who not too many bouts are taking place at 145 pounds. And in this spot, am I going to lay minus 415 on a heavy favorite in the weakest division in the entire sport? No. Danielle Wolf, do I believe that she's live? Yes, she could land a strike that causes Norma Dumont problems, but let's not kid ourselves here. Danielle Wolf has shown chinks in the armor, and Norma Dumont, I believe, is the rightful favorite. She also has the much better ground game here. I'll be picking Norma Dumont to win. Let's take a look at some of the comments here. What a turn of events. Yes, we've had a few shuffling of the deck here. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, you cannot trust Johan's gas tank, correct? Elise Reed ain't about this life. Okay. Evan, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. Okay. Olive Chad's losses are by sub, which you don't like. Okay. And Evan says Alatang would optimize his path to victory with a wrestle-heavy game plan. Yes. Hopefully his team has helped him implement a well-orchestrated game plan. And that's something I'd like to touch on here prior to getting into the Jay Collier, Chris Barnett bout, is that with these shuffling of the deck, here, you have fighters who excel simply by fighting and going out there and doing their thing. Brian Kelleher is one of them. During the COVID pandemic, was able to just go out and do his thing against Hunter Azur and others. Nate Diaz, Tony Ferguson, fighters of that caliber, they can go out and just fight. But then you have other fighters like Dominic Cruz and others who excel when they have a well-orchestrated, almost choreographed game plan. And with the shuffling of the deck here, these fighters have it's a very short turnaround. But this fight right here, Jay Collier against Chris Barnett, something that has been in the works for quite some time. And you have Chris Barnett, oh my goodness gracious, coming in at plus 345, somebody who missed weight at heavyweight. We talk about, was this a fight camp or a fat camp? Scary, sketchy situation here. We know he's a big boy at 5'9" and 267 pounds. Jay Collier, also a big guy, 265, somebody who made the heavyweight limit, somebody who we've backed in the past. Now, am I going to lay almost minus 500 on Jay Collier, who's shown that he can be his own worst enemy in fights sometimes? No, I'm not going to go do that. Do I think this fight may end inside the distance? Yes. Is Chris Barnett tough as nails? I've seen him show some adversity in previous bouts and hang in there. He has good footwork for a big man, can throw some strikes that you wouldn't expect somebody of his stature to throw. So could he catch Jay Collier? Yeah, at heavyweight, that's a possibility. I think Collier's going to get this done inside the distance, though. I think the longer this fight goes, Collier should have some opportunities to seize. And I also am leaning towards this fight not going the distance, and the number out there is looking pretty good for a heavyweight matchup. Next up, where we have Jamie Pickett taking on Dennis Touloulin. Touloulin coming in as a plus 100 underdog. This is a guy who last time out, his opponent was a minus 1,000 favorite, and we did some handiwork and took Touloulin out of there. This is a much more competitive matchup here. Jamie Pickett coming in as a minus 130 betting favorite, somebody who has shown athleticism, good gas tank, but has made some critical bonehead decisions in fights. And against Touloulin, we've seen Touloulin finished in the past. I don't trust Touloulin's gas tank. I think that if Pickett comes out here and sticks to the game plan, stick and move, use that athleticism, use the larger octagon to your advantage, Pickett should come out with a victory here at minus 130. I'm not going to go out of my way to play this volatile matchup, but Pickett will be the pick. No pun intended, my friends. Thanks, Evan, regarding the previous point. Now, we have heavyweight. Well, this is a catchweight bout, basically. They announced it as a catchweight bout. Anton Turjaki coming in as a plus 440 underdog, taking on Jelton Almeida. Tarkali is a fighter who was on the Contender Series recently, somebody who is a finisher by trade, but ended up going to a decision in his last bout. Somebody who is going to be at a severe strength disadvantage in the grappling realm. Jelton Almeida, minus 690 at the betting window. Somebody who will likely get this done inside the distance. I'd rather play Almeida inside the distance than him straight at 690. You look up and down this card, there's some massive, massive favorites. The juice is not worth the squeeze for a lot of these fights. So you have to try to navigate the betting terrain to churn out a profit here. Now, this fight, you look at the under 1.5, perhaps that is the way to go. I believe this fight is not going the distance, and give me Jelton Almeida inside the distance. Now, we've got a banger on our hands here. We have another situation where fighter misses weight by a substantial amount. Hakeem Dawadu coming as a minus 215 betting favorite, taking on Julian Arosa, who Juicy J is one of my favorite fighters, somebody who will fight so hard for your money, will put himself in harm's way and go into the fire to grab a defeat. We saw Charles Jourdain get submitted by Arosa on short notice. Dawadu, you have to be concerned about missing weight here. 149.5. Was this a fat camp or a fight camp? I'm concerned for Dawadu here. The situation is Arosa should be closing distance at all times, like he always does. Force the fight out of Hakeem Dawadu. Force Dawadu to make mistakes on the feet. Now, Dawadu is a pretty clean striker out there. He's somebody who, if he minds his P's and Q's, should be able to land on Arosa pretty easily. Arosa has the much better game plan, a much better grappling game here, and Arosa is live to win this fight. I think he has the potential to gas Dawadu out, even though we've seen Dawadu come on in third rounds in previous matchups. And I also see Arosa potentially getting TKO'd here. So give me, this is a tough one. I'm going to pick Dawadu via knockout, but I think the better play here is fight doesn't go the distance, and that can be had at plus money at some books. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for that. I'm really torn at this stage. I think that Dawadu could potentially be susceptible to getting taken out. I would not be surprised one bit to see Julian Arosa shock the world again and pull out a victory here. I'm very, very reluctant to pick Dawadu. I don't want to. But I think that Arosa, he's just too hittable. The Peterson fight, he was within a strike or two from getting taken out of there, and that could potentially happen here again. We have a situation on our hands here. Iwan Kudalaba, minus 225 betting favorite, taking on Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker plus 185 at the betting window. Walker, man, brutally knocked out in previous bouts. Somebody who is, we're not sure who he is anymore. He seems to be having an identity crisis. The ground game against Krylov and others, he was able to reverse some positions on the ground, but I don't see him having much success on the mat against Iwan Kudalaba, who is a wrecking ball. I don't trust Kudalaba, though, from executing a game plan standpoint, because he's made some crucial mistakes. He's ultra quick tapped at times. He's somebody who has been cracked, and we've seen his lights turned off. We've seen the table turned against him mid-fight. I don't think this fight's going to hit the scorecards. I believe there's actually a little bit of value at fight doesn't go the distance, and the under 1.5 sitting at one point minus 120s. Now I believe it's minus 140s, minus 150s. I think that's a possibility. The under 2.5 could have been had for minus 250 or so. But the style of Iwan Kudalaba is that of a fighter who is going to be very aggressive, one way or the other. He's not going to back up unless you watch the Cannonier fight where he starts losing and then he starts backing up. But Walker's not that fighter who's going to put volume on and start moving forward and really throw combinations. So Walker's going to look to try to counter here. This fight has fireworks written all over it, and I don't expect it to go to a decision. We've got some comments here. Okay. Let's see. Having good point. You know, fighters who are irrelevant at times, things change, lineups get shuffled. Let's see. Round 1 TKO from SRO. Yeah, the one thing about Walker, he has the potential to land a fight-ending strike at any time. That is a real possibility. Let's go to the next fight of the night, where we have 140-pound catch weight between Macy Chaisson against Irene Aldana. Macy Chaisson coming in as a plus 140 underdog. Irene Aldana minus 170. Now, you look at this fight from a betting perspective and also from a fighter development perspective. You have a situation where Macy Chaisson has not improved one iota in my eyes through a number of years. There are some fighters who they max out their potential early, and I believe she's one of them. She's a fighter who, I mean, she's had a solid camp at Fortis, but doesn't listen to her corner. She basically gets by on athleticism and having a big frame. And I'm not a fan of what she brings to the table, but she can crack. That's one thing that she does. She can be a bit of a size bully out there. And Irene Aldana is somebody who will match her in size for the most part, is the much cleaner striker, fighter with a better gas tank, somebody who could potentially do some serious damage out there on the feet. But am I going to lay minus 170? Am I going to really trust her in this spot? It's women's mixed martial arts, and this is, again, another situation where there is high volatility in women's mixed martial arts. We've seen it time and time again throughout the years. So I'll be picking Aldana, but I think there are some better spots on this card. And Aldana is going to be my pick. It's interesting, though, how that bout came to fruition, and it basically moved to a catchweight bout because somebody was struggling out there on the scales. You look up and down this card, there are so many fighters who are having trouble making the contracted weight. Disturbing trend of events, my friends. Li Jing Liang. You look at this fight coming up, taking on Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel Rodriguez was supposed to fight Kevin Holland. I had Kevin Holland beating Daniel Rodriguez. That reach advantage was a big deal, and the significant layoff for Daniel Rodriguez is an issue as well. This is a fighter who relies on his quick hands, and he's a striker by trade, but he does have jiu-jitsu and can lock up a submission. Li Liang is taking this fight against a fighter who weighed about 10 pounds more than he did. It's interesting, the narrative here, how Nate Diaz he says no to a fight against Hamza Chimaev, and there's an 8.5 pound difference. And Li Liang accepts a fight against Daniel Rodriguez and is giving up more pounds than Nate Diaz was against Chimaev. So you hear all of these folks talk about how Nate Diaz is willing to fight anybody, etc. Li Liang has already been in there against Hamza Chimaev. I believe he deserves much more credit than he's getting for taking this fight on such short notice and switching opponents up. And Li Liang is a tough fighter who I was at his last fight against Salikov. Impressive outing. Somebody who can crack. Daniel Rodriguez looked a little flabby on the scales. Looked like he obviously wasn't able to put in a full fight camp. Somebody who is going to have a little bit of a size advantage, but I don't think much. Li Liang should crack here. And Rodriguez is the straighter puncher, somebody who, against Mike Perry and others, he has fought well and executed a game plan that is going to be a different game plan than he would fight against Kevin Holland. So I'm staying away from this fight from a betting perspective. I think Li Liang is live here to land a knockout blow, though. I'm going to be picking Li Liang for the upset to land a knockout on Daniel Rodriguez. The time off is a concern. The lack of a camp is an issue for Daniel Rodriguez, who was trying to work his way back. Next up, co-main event of the evening. Hamza Chimaev taking on Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland's plus 415 underdog. The times have changed. He went from being a minus 200 favorite against Daniel Rodriguez, now plus 415 betting underdog. He didn't have to take this fight. You look up and down his resume and you watch the tape. Takedown defense has been his kryptonite. He is going to have his hands full working his way back to the feet against Hamza Chimaev, who missed weight by a significant margin. You talk about Chimaev squandering a major opportunity under the bright lights, big city, Las Vegas. What went wrong? We don't know. Was Chimaev injured? That is a real possibility. He could be injured here. Was obviously medically cleared, but to miss weight by coming at 178.5 pounds, and he looked good on the scales. That's the strange thing too. So I don't know what went wrong. They said they told them he had to stop cutting weight. I wasn't behind the scenes. I don't know what happened, but I will say that Chimaev is the rightful favorite here. And can he get cracked on the feet? If this was a stand-up bout for 5 rounds and they said, oh, you cannot take your opponent down, then I think this would be much more competitive than what we're looking at here. Chimaev is the rightful favorite here. The thing is, Holland asked for this to be 5 rounds. This might not make it to the 5th round. And you look at Fight Doesn't Go the Distance, see it hovering around minus 260 or so at some books, and it's coming within to a range that may be playable. I'll be picking Hamza Chimaev to win this fight inside the distance. There's a ton of bad blood here. They're going to hunt for the finish, both of these fighters. And also, I don't know about Chimaev's gas tank being able to go 5 rounds. Give me Chimaev, though, inside the distance. Let's see. We've got a couple of other. Okay. This guy, Mr. Todd, says under 2.5, same bet as you had versus Diaz. Okay. You can't let Darren Till anywhere near a weight cut. It'll always go wrong. Yeah, interesting stuff. I don't know how that friendship came to be. It's very odd how that worked out. Chimaev seems like a fighter who's been incredibly disciplined from a training standpoint, although he is a bit of a wild man, and we've seen You get sucked in. You talk about having some sort of semblance of professionalism when you're out there, and it's a concern. But these are cage fighters that we're dealing with, and sometimes the visceral side of things permeates to the surface. So main event of the evening, where we have Nate Diaz taking on Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, the ever so slight favorite at -130, and Nate Diaz coming in as a +100 underdog. This fight is about evens when it comes to fight doesn't go the distance. Ferguson wasn't expected to fight 5 rounds here. He had a 3-round bout against Li Jingliang that got pulled, thank goodness, because we saw Ferguson only 4 months ago had his lights completely shut off. Was looking good, though. Was looking very good at times against Michael Chandler. Nate Diaz, let's be honest with ourselves. People look back at that 5th round. I believe it was a left that ended up catching Leon Edwards. Other than that strike, Diaz was getting mauled and annihilated out there, beaten, bloodied, and he was getting it put on him by Leon Edwards. Jorge Masvidal had his way with Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is a bit of a survivor out there, will take punishment. The triathlons, the gas tank, behind the scenes, you don't know what he actually did as far as training goes for this bout. I know he has a large contingency of fans, and I believe they are moving this line a little bit. I'll be picking Tony Ferguson to win this bout, though. I believe that it's a very competitive bout, and the thing that has me concerned is the lack of preparation time. Both of these fighters are natural-born fighters, and Nate Diaz does have a solid ground game. It's been a while since we've seen Snapdown City in effect. How nice would that be to see Ferguson lock up a Darce here? Might be a tall ask, though. I think this will be a stand-up bout for the majority of the fight, and I'll be picking Tony Ferguson to win. And either way, the crowd is going to be on their feet for this one. Looking for it. Let's see. It says Nate open at +170. Did Sharps move this line, or was it casual Diaz fans? I'll say this: the amount there. The hardcore fans tend to be Tony Ferguson fans. The casuals enjoy the company of Nate Diaz. I've been at Pride fighting. I've seen Nick Diaz in person and at weigh-ins for that event. I was in the building when he shocked the world against Takanori Gomi, and I have a lot of respect for the Diaz brothers toughing it out and scrapping it all the way to near the top. But Diaz was about to get completely slaughtered and annihilated, and we had we had a few bets canceled for Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. So this is a completely different matchup here. I'll be picking Tony Ferguson, and it wouldn't surprise me, though. We know Ferguson has been through the meat grinder against Justin Gaethje and others, so there is a bit of risk here. I'll be picking Tony Ferguson to win, though. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I want you to remember to go get what's yours. Some premium plays can be found at MMAOddsbreaker Premium. Also, you can check out my betting record at betmma.tips. This is a long-term game here, and we want to make sure that you are heeding the advice of long-term winners. There are folks out there who will look you dead in the eyes and make a convincing argument, but they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And they don't have a track record to back themselves up as a legitimate winner. So just take that into consideration and pick your spots. That's my word of advice for everybody. Remember, go get what's yours and have a phenomenal Saturday. Let's do this.